This is Newsmax TV. I'm Ashley Martella. We're happy to begin the new year joined by our chief Washington correspondent and New York Times bestselling author, Ron Kessler. Nice to have you here, Ron.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashley.
New Congress seated this week. Now, the Senate has a slimmer Democrat majority, and the House has a new sizable Republican majority. What legislation can we expect to see right out of the gate, do you think?
Well, number one, they're going to try to pass a bill to repeal the health care law. Of course, Obama will veto it, and the Senate probably would not pass it, so it's largely a symbolic gesture. But in addition, they're going to be going after the health care bill by trying to take away the appropriations, change regulations. That is priority number one. And then secondly, they're going to be coming up with ways to reduce spending. They're going to come up with proposals, in fact, every week, and other measures to try to create more jobs, including getting rid of regulations, creating more certainty, and that would be the beginning of the new Congress.
South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, no stranger to making deals with Democrats, is blasting his fellow Republicans for what he calls a capitulation of dramatic proportions to Democrats and Harry Reid in the lame duck session. Now, does Graham have a point, and does it look like some of the Republican vanguard might be apprehensive of the new freshman class coming in with the likes of Marco Rubio, Pat Toomey, Rand Paul, Ron Johnson, and Mike Lee?
Well, they certainly are looking over their shoulders at those more conservative new members, as well as Tea Party members, Tea Party movement. That is really serving as a conscience of Republicans in Congress now. But I don't see the measures that were passed in the lame duck as being symbolic of what's to come or a sellout by Republicans. I think there were largely fairly moderate proposals.
Now, staying with the Senate for a moment, there are 23 Democrats up for re-election in 2012. They certainly saw what happened in the House. Now, because of that, will Harry Reid have a more difficult time now advancing his leftist agenda?
There's no question he's going to have more difficulty, but I don't think that's going to stop him. I mean, he clearly, like Nancy Pelosi, has blinders on, has no regard for the wishes of the American people overall, and as a result, I think they're going to be dinosaurs.
Now, do you predict that President Obama will do what Clinton did after he took his own shellacking and moved toward the center? Republicans, of course, are told by Obama to have to sit in the back. Do you think he will soften his position and move toward the center, as Clinton did?
I don't. I don't think it's in Obama's DNA to become more centrist whatsoever. And I think he's so out of touch with the American people, as we saw with him expressing support for Michael Vick, who killed innocent animals. Other comments, such as supporting the black Harvard professor who was obstreperous with the police. That is, I think, the real Obama, and you're going to see that continue for the rest of his term.
The war on terror. How does President Obama's record on national security rate? Now, you talked to a lot of FBI and CIA insiders. What are they saying about that?
It's a mixed bag. You know, on the one hand, Obama is doing a very good job with killing terrorists with predators, and that's largely because Bush had the foresight to increase the number of predators by threefold. But also there's better intelligence, and clearly he's continuing good policies in that regard. On the other hand, his equivocating about Gitmo, his letting more detainees out, and 25% of them return to terrorism, his policy of prosecuting former CIA people who were just doing interrogations that had been approved by the Justice Department. All this undercuts morale, undercuts the, and it creates the perception that Obama is not really serious about pursuing the war on terror, as well as the euphemisms that the administration uses even to describe terrorists.
Along the lines of what you're talking about, a terror suspect in the African U.S. Embassy bombings was acquitted of all but one charge by a civilian court. Now, is that likely to have an impact, do you think, on the way the administration deals with future terrorist trials?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to try that again. They've given up on trying Khalid Sheikh Mohammed in New York in a civilian court, which was just nuts, and they didn't even consult the FBI about security implications before making that decision. Obama's decision on the day he took office to close Gitmo without knowing where prisoners are going. All that, I think they've finally learned after 2 years, was a lot of hot air. And they are either going to detain these people indefinitely, which is ironic because they keep talking about how important it is to have civilian trials to show the world that we're good people, or they will eventually have military trials at Gitmo.
Speaking of Gitmo, do you think Obama will go ahead and close it as he promised?
I don't think Obama will ever close Gitmo because there's simply no way to do it. You know, he's been even trying to pay off countries with aid to try to take detainees, and even then they don't want to take them. So where do you put them? Congress has said no, you cannot transfer them to the United States. So you know, he'll keep creating the impression that he wants to close it, but I don't think he ever will.
The 2012 presidential election isn't all that far away now. Of the possible candidates, which one do you think would have the best chance, a Republican candidate, of beating Obama?
You know, Mitt Romney almost always shows up as #1 in the polls. People knock him on the health care measure in Massachusetts, but actually that was created by the Heritage Foundation and was a state measure as opposed to a federal measure, and certainly there are problems, but even the cost of that has been only 1% of the total Massachusetts budget. So I think there's a lot of misrepresentation going on about that. On the other hand, he doesn't seem to connect very well with the American people, at least not so far. He is trying to look more casual. But anyway, he's certainly one possibility in terms of the actual candidates who are clearly running. I would still think that he would have the best chance of getting the most independents, even Democrats, to vote for him.
Do you think the health care situation in Massachusetts that he was part of might be a liability for him?
Well, clearly among hardcore conservatives, the health care legislation in Massachusetts would be the #1 liability. I don't think there's much concern beyond that. There are still many who don't like his Mormon religion, but I think that's wearing off to some extent, and the media seem to be tired of going after that issue. You know, he's been so successful in his career. I would not count him out. I think he's probably got a few tricks up his sleeve, and he has been forging relationships with Republicans, raising money. And when you think of what we need as a president, we need a manager. I think people are starting to realize that after seeing what Obama has done. So certainly we need someone who has experience managing. And that means a governor. It does not mean a senator or a member of Congress.
Mike Huckabee?
You know, on the conservative side, he raised taxes quite a bit.
Governor of Arkansas.
That's right, as governor. So that would be a strike against him among conservatives. I know he's big on among social conservatives. I just don't know if he would really get enough support nationwide to make it.
Sarah Palin.
Sarah Palin, you know, it's interesting. She's great to listen to. She's great to look at. I think when you actually talk to people in the conservative movement, there's hardly one leader who really thinks that she should be president. And you see that in the polls. You see the unfavorable rating that she has, which is pretty startling. You know, I hope she continues to be a champion of the conservative cause, but being president, I don't see it.
And finally, Ron Kessler, your fascinating book on the Secret Service is still selling well, I understand, in paperback form now. You got another one coming out, we hear.
I do. Of course, I do have a few secrets. That's one I'd like to keep secret.
Subject of this is?
The subject is the FBI, new revelations. It'll be out in August.
Wish you the best of luck with that, and thanks for stopping by here at Newsmax.
Thank you, Ashley.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.